Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the co-owner and creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the key difference between sympathizing and empathizing, especially as it relates to the power struggle phase of a relationship between the dismissive, avoidant, and anxious, preoccupied individual. So we have 6 main phases of a relationship. And originally these phases were talked about by Dr. Susan Campbell, and she talked about 5 phases, but she didn't distinctly separate out the honeymoon phase and the dating phase, which I think is a very important distinction to make. So from that, we have our dating phase of a relationship, we have our honeymoon phase of a relationship, then we have our power struggle phase of a relationship, followed by stability, commitment, and bliss phases of a relationship. Now, I see a lot of people say things like, I want to stay in the honeymoon phase of a relationship forever. And the challenging part about that is that that's not actually what we should want. And the reason for this is that as we go through that dating and infatuation phase with elevated neurochemicals that carries into the honeymoon phase of a relationship, to a certain degree, we're still loving in a more superficial way. And it doesn't mean the love isn't real or profound or really important or meaningful. It just means that we haven't gone through all these other really important chapters with a person yet. And part of what the power struggle phase sort of denotes in a way is it asks us, as one of its rites of passage, it asks us to be able to literally show our flaws, to let down our walls, to get off of we have to be on our best behavior mode all the time. And we have to show up in a certain way. It's actually like, let me show myself more vulnerably. And it's only through that. And what is required from that in the power struggle phase is the capacity to see another person in their flaws and to see their fears and their own individual pieces of programming and wounds and needs, and to learn to work with that and to accept that. And so, and vice versa, right? And so that's the whole point. And when we learn that in the power struggle phase, then we are able to move into the stability phase. And then with deeper connection habits, the commitment phase, and ultimately the bliss phase, which is sort of like the honeymoon phase, except with less superficial love, right? With more depth, with more understanding. We're not just seeing a person with their mask on and loving that. We're loving that person with the mask off, and we move into a more unconditionally loving space. And so that's the point of the life cycle of a relationship, is to get there, not to just stay in the honeymoon phase and then not have that depth to love and care and acceptance of another person and understanding for who they are. And so this is where that idea or concept of sympathy versus empathy comes up. And I really want to show you this here by illustrating sort of an idea between an anxious and avoidant individual in the power struggle phase of a relationship. So, I always say to people, we project from our perception. Where we are currently at as individuals with our programming, we tend to project that programming onto other people and then feel accordingly. So for example, if we have an anxious, preoccupied individual and they are feeling hurt when somebody doesn't call them back, and maybe they feel abandoned by that, maybe they feel alone or excluded or disliked, or one of those core wounds of the anxious, preoccupied type comes up. When they see somebody else, let's say their dismissive, avoidant partner in a relationship, not be called back by one of their friends, let's say, they're going to sympathize. They're going to go, oh my gosh, poor guy, like his friends didn't call him back. Oh my gosh, you must feel so terrible. And they might want to go towards that and nurture that. And there's 2 parts in there. Try to soothe the person, essentially, is what I mean by nurture that. Now, there's 2 parts in here that are faulty to a certain degree. Number one, the anxious preoccupied is projecting the same imagined idea of what the dismissive avoidant is feeling from their programming onto the dismissive avoidant. To be honest, the dismissive avoidant likely felt relieved that they didn't get called back and didn't have to talk on the phone, right? Not always, and not all dismissive avoidance, of course. But the point I'm trying to make is that the anxious preoccupied can't see that, right? It's like we lose our ability to see that person, to see our partner as their own unique individual with their programming. And that can actually make the partner of somebody who's being sympathized with feel unseen. It's like, well, why are you telling me that like, oh, why are you feeling bad for me? I'm okay. Don't you see? Don't you see me? So there's that one layer to it. And then as a secondary layer, there's also this component where um, a dismissive avoidant, if they were in pain around that, they might actually want space instead of soothing through somebody else. They might need to soothe through themselves. And so it's a beautiful thing to be able to have the capacity to sympathize, to feel for other people. But ultimately, sympathy is an example of us projecting our programming onto somebody else and then assuming that they are feeling the way we would feel and need the things that we need. And empathy is this capacity and ability to practice seeing somebody else in their individual programming through what we understand about their wounds, their needs, their fears, their flaws, their programming as a person. And when we see them as they are, not as we are, and then we can communicate or recognize what they need as them, not as us, this is empathy. And this is one of the most important things we can learn in irrespective of what your attachment style is. This is one of the most important things we can learn for all of our relationships, especially when we get into the power struggle phase of a relationship, because this is what it's about. And it's through doing that we get to make somebody else feel truly seen, heard, understood, and connected to. And this is obviously truly beneficial and something that helps us reach the deeper layers of loving somebody more deeply, because we see them and we love them for who they are, not for who we project or imagine them to be. And so this is a really important dynamic, not just in those relationships, but I also want to highlight how important this dynamic is as well for parents with their children, because often children grow up feeling very unseen, very unheard, feeling like their feelings are misrepresented, not recognized, all these sorts of things. And this is a beautiful and powerful skill that we all need to learn at a really profound level. So if you want to see more about this, when it comes to parenting, when it comes to different attachment styles, some different examples, I do think this is a really powerful topic. So please let me know in the comments below. And thank you so much for being here and for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.